God bless you. Welcome to Spiritpreneur Network on Oracle TV Network. My name is Randolph Manti, your host. I'm so privileged and honored to bring to you an incredible interview that I believe is going to equip you and translate you into a position where you can be able to excavate the wealth that God has placed within you. I have a friend of mine, my brother, who is going to begin to tell us some secrets, some biblical secret and innovative business strategies that is going to help you tonight. So get ready. If it's possible, invite your friends and family, share the video with your groups and your pages so that they can join us as we begin to interact, to find out what we need to do in this season to come into the wealth that God has ordained for us. So we are not going to waste time. I just want to introduce my friend, Dr. Rollan Roberts. Is an incredible business person, a business consultant who has really taken many business into exponential business successes. And I'm going to allow him to really share some things that he's doing right now with you. So without wasting time, welcome, Dr. Rollan. It's a privilege to have you today.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
What an honor. I know you have been into a lot of business ventures. You were the CEO of some of these top companies. Can you tell me some of the companies you've worked with?
Sure. You know, the most notable is the Hoverboard company, and that's the little motorized personal transportation vehicle on two wheels. We had over 300 Chinese manufacturers knocking off that product. Cost the company at least probably $1 billion because of all of the other manufacturers. We also dealt with those knockoffs catching fire, and so we had to deal with crisis in business. And we have I was also the CEO of a nutraceutical company, so a large manufacturing organization, and a senior executive at a Fortune 500 company. Had nearly 1,500 employees starting when I was 24 years old.
Wow.
I couldn't rent a car from Hertz, but I had a lot of responsibility, and ended up that was a public company that their stock price went from $48 a share down to $11 a share because of a data breach. And I spent the next 2 years getting that back up to $49 a share. And so really dealing with crisis is always a hallmark for entrepreneurs.
But I'm so surprised. Almost all the business you're talking about is $1 million, billion-dollar companies. How did you end up into such ventures, though?
Well, let me tell you about the ones that started with zero revenue.
Yeah, please do.
I've started a couple companies that are still in business and that I sold. One was a natural alternative and supplement to chemotherapy, and then I created a clean whey protein to go along with that. And that company is still an ongoing concern today. And then I also started a formula that was the closest thing to breast milk for babies that were picky, couldn't eat, and things like that. And it was a highly nutritious type of a thing. And started that with zero. I actually got a kiosk in a mall. And I thought, I'm just going to, moms will bring their strollers by and they'll want to buy this formula. And I had it in single servings. You cannot buy a single serving of a baby formula. But you and I go to a restaurant, they don't bring us, enough meal for 5 people. Yeah. They just bring us one portion. But for babies, that doesn't exist. There's a kid's meal, but there's not a baby meal.
Interesting.
So I thought, as they're out and about, they may have left the formula at home. They may have already used their formula and they want to keep shopping. So opened up the kiosk. I thought it was a great idea. It wasn't. What ended up happening was I realized in the mall, management really wanted me to open up a coffee shop. I'd already owned a coffee shop before, and they said, hey, would you do it? And after 3 days of me sitting there from open to close, and the only people who came up were people saying, isn't there coffee in the mall? Where do I go to get coffee? I contacted mall management and I said, I'm going to have coffee. And so literally 3 weeks later, I had gotten all the equipment, got fully operational, got the permits and the certifications, and started selling coffee. And it was from that moment on that everything, including the baby formula, started to sell. And then we expanded and opened up other locations.
From what you are sharing with us, it seems like you're a serial entrepreneur. It is the motivation to really solve problems. There's an aspect to you that I also want you to communicate to our audience. You are a born-again Christian.
Oh, yeah.
You have a company called Kingdompreneurs. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, yeah. So my mission, my cause, my purpose, my calling is to serve entrepreneurs and kingdom entrepreneurs and equip and empower and educate and inspire them on what kingdom entrepreneurship is. And I want to create kingdompreneurs all over the world. And so I do that through hosting a CEO entrepreneur cruise, a 3-day, 2-night faith-based cruise. I do it through hosting Kingdompreneur Radio, which we have a large audience that we're tuning in there and growing.
Is it global?
Online it is, and we have negotiations with iHeart and so forth. So a lot of things are in the works to make that really spread. But we're in a number of markets already with it. In fact, we had people from other countries call in. It's the only business call-in show on radio where it's specifically for helping people start businesses or grow businesses. You can call in for financial advice. You can call in for political, talk. You can even call some general life type things. But a specific entrepreneur show, it just doesn't exist. And entrepreneurship is the greatest mission field in today, marketplace missions, because most churches have the attention of their audience and congregation 30 minutes or an hour on a Sunday morning. But as an entrepreneur, I have the staff and customers, maybe 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and I'm constantly interacting. And another thing, Reindorf, is entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur 30 years ago, even in the 90s, if you said you were an entrepreneur, what that really meant was you're unemployed. You can't get a job. You're an independent contractor. Sure. You're a consultant. Yep. You're broke. Right? Yeah. But entrepreneurship has changed. They're the new rock stars.
Are you talking about people in the church or even in the secular world now?
Well, I think it's one and the same. The church is in the world. The church is in the marketplace. In fact, 98, 99% of the people who attend church on a Sunday morning are in the marketplace 6 days a week.
Yeah.
They're only in the church house a few hours a week. So they are the marketplace. And what we have not done a good job of is equipping them on how to make their private faith publicly relevant.
Wow. Can you repeat that? That is interesting, though. Is that your passion right now for Kingdompreneur, though?
It is. I think for so many years, I was obsessed with one goal, and that was to be the CEO of a $1 billion company. I paid a massive price for that I should not have been willing to pay.
Interesting.
And so my calling is helping people not make the same mistakes I did in terms of keeping him first. Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God. Not seeking the deal first, not seeking the job first, not seeking the funding first, seeking him first.
Interesting. Before you go on, I just want to really focus on this. You're telling me that you were striving to be a CEO of a $1 billion company, and you got it, and you were not happy?
It's not about happiness. It was about I didn't get it, by the way, until after I had surrendered and given my life to Christ. In 2012, I had just finished running for the Senate in Montana, and it was going to usher in a lot of pain in my life on several fronts. But the biggest one was a divorce that came as a result of a number of things over the course of years, and so that was what God used in my life to get my attention. It was like, stop working holidays, stop working birthdays, stop working 24/7 and traveling 50 out of 52 weeks. And so I finally got to the place where I had to just fully surrender. And I said, okay, fine. I'm yours. Just take me. Because I understood what it meant. In my mind, when I surrendered, I literally told God, I know I'll never see another accolade. I'll never get another award. I had just received Innovator of the Year for the Direct Selling Association.
Wow.
I had just gotten some other industry awards. And I knew I was giving it up. That I would never be recognized again for anything because I'm surrendering to God.
You were willing to drop all those things for the kingdom.
Oh, absolutely. Because nothing else mattered. When he finally got my attention, I realized how much nothing really mattered that I had been focusing on. And so I just fully surrendered and said, okay. And you know what? For the next 2 years, I started some CEO huddles and working with people that were hurt or experiencing pain in their life and grief. and just really made it a mission to help hurting people. And so I did that for the next 2 years in silence. There were no accolades. Nobody was saying, "Oh, wow, you just changed my life." And there was none of that. But what happened then, and then all of a sudden the Lord just opened up more blessings than I could have ever imagined. And the greatest accolades I've ever received came after that. Becoming the CEO of the Hoverboard company, becoming the top 100 most influential Floridians. And it wasn't because of my business success. It was because I spent time working with people.
It seems like the Kingdompreneur is really impacting people. What is some of the innovations you bring to the body of Christ since you you started the Kingdompreneur? What is the changes that you brought into people's lives as a Kingdompreneur?
First of all, their mindset. Their mindset, the mindset of so many Christian business people is highly ineffective in a secular marketplace. They a lot of times come in with a sense of lack or a spirit of lack, or they sometimes lack leadership as well. And so what I teach them is what Joshua 1:7 and Joshua 1:9 says: "Fear not, be very courageous." You know, and 1:9 just says, be courageous. And most people, entrepreneur or not, Christian or not, operate from a spirit of fear. Fear guides them, it controls them, it determines their relationships. Sometimes they don't get into a relationship because I don't know what's going to happen. And the pain that I currently live with and know, most people would prefer that pain over the pain of the unknown. And so that pain keeps us in our own prison. It keeps us from starting the business. It keeps us from even assessing our own God-given talents and say, how do we take this to the marketplace? How do I package you and take your skills, talents, and abilities and market that? And so that would be one of the major things, is changing the mindset to a spirit of being bold and courageous, and not a spirit of fear. The spirit of fear is a demonic experience anyway, and does not come from above.
But it's interesting, because if we're supposed to be the people of faith, then we should be very audacious. We must be the people who must be very bold in bringing our talent and giftings into the marketplace. What is the transformative strategy that you bring to the church that will liberate them from that spirit of fear, so that they can be able to activate or mobilize what they have into the market? What can they do? Because a lot of people need to hear this. What do you do with them?
You know, there's a formula that I have followed. It's how I've turned companies around. There was a 30-year-old manufacturing company. They had lost revenue month after month after month for 15 straight years. And after I became the CEO, we had their first growth month after 90 days. And one of the reasons for that is because I use the 90-day race formula. And I've used it in 1998 to invest in, end up having several $1 million in real estate as an 18 and 19-year-old.
Wow.
Starting with nothing. I ended up using the 90-day race to lose over 75 pounds over the course of 2 years in 2005.
That's incredible.
I used it to start companies that ended up selling, and then obviously to turn companies around. I used it to run for the Senate in Montana, and ended up losing that by 33 votes is what I needed to win that election. But I did it with a 90-day race. And my belief is number one, it's a biblical principle, because God created like the seasons.
I get it.
And they follow 90 days. You know, it's 3 months: summer, winter, fall, spring. And then you have the business quarters, and they, go by Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And then you look at, even the United States military. They take inept, unqualified, unfit recruits, and they turn them into some of the most sophisticated fighting machines on the planet in 90 days, called boot camp.
I get it.
So what we do with the 90-day race is you could grind it out for years and never get where you're going, or you could do a 90-day race and do what years of grinding cannot achieve.
I know you've written a book about the 90 days, and you have a program, business consultancy with that. I want you to really get into it a little bit. If somebody is interested in the 90-day race, what is it going to do for them? How is it going to really take them from where they are in the place of mediocrity, deficiency, and challenges, and bring them to the place where they meet get the expectation and get their transformed life? What must they do to get started?
There is one thing, Reindorf, one thing alone. They need to have a pattern disrupt. Until you disrupt, your patterns are disrupted, mental patterns, you will not change. For me, let me give you an example. For me, the day that I made the decision to lose weight, it was not something that I had been reading or thinking about or things like that. It was, I had flown to a neutral location where the president of a company that was massive, I mean, we were doing billions of dollars.
Okay.
His budget was bigger than our gross revenue.
Wow.
And he comes in on the one of their corporate jets, and so we're having lunch. I start to order literally a business lunch, 3 or 4 appetizers. It's just 3 of us, but you still order appetizers for everybody, 1 per person or 2. You have all the entrees and with a lot of extra, all the desserts. Yeah. And he literally was like, "Nah, I don't want anything. I'm just gonna have a salad." And I thought, that's odd. I literally said, I've never had somebody not want to be showered with extravagance. And he said, no. He said, that's okay. I ran 10 miles before I got the plane this morning. What? And I'm going, we both had to leave at 4:30 a.m. Yeah. What do you mean you ran 10 miles before you got here? And this guy was where I wanted to be. And what I realized is I was using my success as an excuse not to do something that I knew I should be doing. And the problem with most of the people, entrepreneurs, and people even wanting to become an entrepreneur that are under the sound of my voice right now, the problem is they need a pattern disrupt. That was a pattern disrupt for me. And I need to take people out of their element. And what the 90-day race does, when you read the book, it takes about 34 minutes.
Okay.
When you read that book, it is based on my run for the Senate. And because of the way the story is told, and then because of the tools that I give you on each week exactly how to run a 90-day race, in 34 minutes, it disrupts your pattern because you haven't run for the Senate. Whenever I tried to teach this, explaining it with weight loss, people would say, well, you don't know my body, you don't know my genetics, you don't know how this works. And then if I use business, well, here's how I turned around this company, or here's how I started this company, here's why I did this. They would say, yeah, but that's you. You did that. I'm not you. It wouldn't work for me. So they always discounted it. I have to get people out of a realm that they know and understand in order to communicate the biblical principle that's going to set them free.
Let's talk about the pattern disrupt. Let's say somebody is used to go into a cycle of deficiency and poverty, and they've come to you. They've tried everything that they can, and it's not working. Yeah. And they come to you looking for an opportunity to change their situation. What is the pattern disrupt to such a person? What are you going to do? And I know you're talking about mindset. Can you give us a pragmatic solution for such a person? How do they change their situation? So that what are you going to do to them or with them to really set them on course for such a change?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind, when someone is in a pattern of failure almost, where they're trying and it doesn't work. And the first thing you got to look at is, number one, that's okay. They usually, by the time they get to you, they're very defeated, right? That creates a very defeated mindset. And so nobody is going to usually win when they have a defeated mindset. So when they come, I do have to focus on the mindset first. But then the second step to this really is I've got to see, once I know who they are, and we've worked on that, then we have to look at what they do. Okay. It's one thing to be, and I always start with being, not doing. Everybody comes and they're like, what do I need to do? If you tell me to go stand on my head upside down for 3 days in the corner and I'm going to make $1 million, I'll do it. Okay. And I'm like, no. It's not about doing. Before you do, you have to be. Because if you don't be, then you're going to go make the money, and you're going to lose it, and then you're going to come back to me, and it's going to repeat that cycle. So, in a just man falls down 7 times and rises up again.
Yeah.
You hear the stats, 9 out of 10 businesses fail, and I say that's why I started 10. It's okay that you have false starts. It's okay that you stop, go. I'm trying to expand. I'm trying to grow. It doesn't work out the way you thought it was. Welcome to entrepreneurship. I mean, that is the ride that you signed up for.
Really?
The problem is when we think that that's abnormal.
Nobody has ever told us that we should be expecting, or it's part of the ritual of entrepreneurship that you have to go through the process of starting and stopping and making mistakes and falling on your feet flat. So you saying that is a bit strange though. But what I want us to really get is,
I wouldn't trust anybody that hasn't had massive failure in starting a business.
Really?
Absolutely.
Why?
In fact, I remember whenever I was interviewing for one of the CEO roles, they asked me, they said, we don't want your highlight reel. We've already seen your resume and everything else. Tell us about your greatest failures. We want to know your biggest failures. Because if somebody hasn't hit rock bottom, I don't know who they are. I don't know who they're going to be in the foxhole.
But don't you think this kind of failure leave, it can literally take somebody through a traumatic emotional state, and it leaves you maybe sometimes shaking a little bit, maybe damping your ability to really go after great things.
It does.
So how do you
and that's music to my ears. It's music to my ears. I'm telling you, I don't want people leading my teams if they haven't gone through that traumatic experiences. I've been there. It changes you. It fundamentally changes who you are. Now here's the difference. My mom used to tell me, if you can get battered and not get bitter, you'll get better.
Wow. Say that again.
If you can get battered
right?
and not get bitter, you'll get better.
That's good.
But let me tell you, 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs that have that traumatic failure, which we all have, how you know what success is are those who, despite every obstacle, they somehow come back through that, and they are better, they are happier, they shine, they did not lose who they were, they are still kind people, they're not bitter, they're generous people, they're humble people.
Wow.
That's why you have a Warren Buffett. Some of the richest people in the world don't have near the ego as a bunch of people out there making 100, 200 grand, thinking they're the greatest thing ever.
But so what you're saying is, what makes your entrepreneurial giftings or talent very unique is not the exceptional giftings that you have, but the brokenness you've gone through.
You nailed it. You
Really?
nailed it. And think about how biblical that is. God says, look, if you live for me, you're going to have persecution.
Yeah.
You're going to have people say evil things about you. They will lie about you. They will slander you. If you're living for me, that's going to happen. He doesn't say the weapons won't form against us. He just says they won't prosper against us. So we have to, as kingdom entrepreneurs, we really have to be aware and expect the fires. That's how God prunes us anyway. The Christian life, he doesn't just elevate our strengths and just kind of, focus on your weaknesses where you can. No, he prunes us, and it's painful. It hurts to get pruned. I mean, when he's working on me, it's like massive sandpaper just grinding. But it's like the diamond, you have to apply extreme heat. And same thing with when you're going through the fires of life. What he told us, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, is when you're going through the fiery furnace, I'll be there with you. And when entrepreneurs, their back's against the wall, there's bills due tomorrow, or in 15 minutes, or whatever it is that you are going through as a kingdom entrepreneur, you apply your faith, supernatural faith, in those moments, full dependence and reliance on him for wisdom. I mean, Samuel talks about that the men of Israel had a greater understanding of their times.
Yeah.
It's important for us as entrepreneurs to be in tune with the Lord and asking him, how do you want us to guide and govern our businesses? Because our businesses, our purpose for existing is different than a secular business. Our purpose for existing, we are blessed so that we can be a blessing.
Yeah.
It's so that it can flow through us, not sit here and park.
So that means as a kingdompreneur, that's what we're talking about, your mandate is to make money to become philanthropic. That's what you're saying, to be able to give it more out.
To grow the kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think there is a difference between philanthropic efforts and kingdom growth.
Okay. Can you give us the difference then?
Sure. Well, I'm very philanthropic. Okay. I serve on the board of directors of Guys with Ties organization. Okay. We serve a numerous nonprofit organizations that are doing great work in the communities, feeding people, housing the homeless, giving them, washing their clothes, just special needs children, all kinds of human trafficking, all kinds of different initiatives that we're supporting. That's fantastic, and it's something that we should do. But that's not specific kingdom investment. It's rewarded.
Yeah.
But then there are specific, unique, kingdom growth-oriented type of things. Okay. And you can always do kingdom work no matter what we're doing. If we're in a conference room, in a boardroom, we can still be kingdom people. So I'm not saying it's something you turn on and off, but I'm saying you can be intentional about kingdom growth. So that's what Peter Lowe, who founded the Get Motivated Success Seminars, and I do with the CEO Entrepreneur Cruise. Okay. We're very intentional about kingdom growth. We want to bring CEOs, entrepreneurs, executives, business people, sometimes some entrepreneurs, people who want to become an entrepreneur. We bring, they are able to come on the CEO cruise, meet some incredible people like the inventor of the McDonald's Happy Meal, Tom Feldenstein, Ford Taylor, who took a company from bankrupt with a few employees to over $300 million in sales. Peter, who obviously did the Get Motivated Success Seminars for 25 years, filled arenas and stadiums, had 6 U.S. presidents. Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, Mikhail Gorbachev after the wall fell. I mean, everybody that you can imagine gracing the stage. And you're around these people, but when we host that, and when people attend, that is being intentional about kingdom growth and kingdom investment. When people invest in my radio program, Kingdompreneur Radio, or into your ministry with Oracle TV Network, or these are specific kingdom investments that help us spread the message of kingdom entrepreneurship around the world. This may reach 1 million people or 100 million people. You don't know, and that's reach is a whole lot greater than whenever we're serving one-on-one. Both are right. Both are good, but a kingdom entrepreneur is a leader, and so there is more required of leaders than there are of other people. The Bible makes it clear that to whom much is given, much is required.
We're going to talk about the CEO cruise that you've been having, which is incredible, bringing industry leaders and innovators together. And I can't wait to be part of that group, because I know in that atmosphere, things happen. Before we get into that, I will not forget, I wanted us to talk about it. Let's say somebody's watching right now. They might not have the means to be able to get you one-on-one, because before you can get this guy, he's very expensive. But he's very, very expensive. But thank God we have him here. Somebody's watching right now, desperately in need for change. Financially handicapped, maybe so frustrated, about to throw in the towel. They don't know what to do. I want you to speak to them directly and give them some tips, something they can get started right now. Because I know if they were sitting before you right now, there's some things you can do. You've talked about the disruption of their mindset. Yes. You've talking about some pattern changes that they have to go through. Give them some quick tips that they can use right now. So that they can bring. After that, maybe we'll take a break and then go talk about the kingdom and the CEO stuff that we've been doing, CEO cruises that we've been doing. So tell me, if somebody's watching, what can you tell them right now to get started? Because we need them to change right now. What can you tell them?
All right, you're sitting right in front of me. You're hurting. You've lost, and you just don't know what to do. The first thing people do is you're telling me your story. You're probably sobbing and crying about what you've lost. But here's what I would quickly tell you. It's not what happens, it's how you handle it. And what I want you to do is I want you to focus on the critical few, not the trivial many. The vast majority of what you just told me are your emotions. And I want you to, we're going to set your emotions off to the side, And we're going to look at something really practical, the critical few versus the trivial many. There's only 2 or 3 things right now that you must do to turn your life around. There's a lot of good things. There's a lot of things that contribute to your success or to your relationships, but there's only 2 or 3 things that will make all the difference in the world. You've got to find out what they are. And normally that's what I do is start asking a lot of very deep probing questions to figure out what is the critical few for you, because it's different based on who you are and what the situation is and how you respond to different things emotionally. But if they are in that spot, I can tell you right now, emotions are probably governing the decisions, not the Lord and not their brain.
Okay. You've been able to take a lead of leaders. You've been able to lead a lot of companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, multi-million-dollar companies. What is the one thing that somebody can do to be able to generate ideas? Any idea? Because sometimes people don't know what to do. They are stuck in the cycle of defeat and disappointment, and they don't know what to do. Is there a way for you to be able to get someone to generate ideas that will launch them into that pattern of success that you've been talking about?
I've done this with 4th graders and 5th graders.
What?
So the answer is absolutely.
Really?
Whenever I would host an entrepreneur workshop one time for some youth, we had people as young as 10 years old that were a part of it. They don't come to the table with a whole bunch of skills, talents, and abilities, and that we just say, oh, well, you should be in software development or things of that nature. So what we're able to do is say, hey, here's a handful of companies. Do you like online companies? Do you like kind of a brick and mortar company? Do you like to work with your hands? Do you like to work with your mind? Do you like people or do you not like people? If you don't like people, I don't want you to really have a retail store where you're having to work the front desk. We need somebody nice and friendly and warm and personable. And I really don't want you to have a service business if you don't have some people skills. But if you have little to no money, and if you had $50 or $100, I could get you started in a business, but it would be a service business.
Okay.
So the first thing to do, if you're capital deprived, to start a service business, and there's a lot of free ways you can market and advertise that. I remember one time when we were starting a daycare business, and it was going well, and then I wanted to franchise it, and I ended up licensing it out instead of franchising it. But I remember taking flyers, having I forget how many hundreds or thousands of copies it was, and literally driving along and putting them in the mailbox flags because you couldn't open the mailbox. And so that's what we did for 2 or 3 hours every night. And then there's other ways, of course, now where you're able to market and advertise and get the word out. Even if I had to go door to door saying, hi, I'm Dr. Rollan Roberts. I have ABC commercial cleaning company. And are you happy with who's cleaning your business right now? If I had to do that tomorrow, I would probably then focus on either doctor's offices or I would find some niches. Okay. And then I would go and I would just knock on the door. I would do whatever I had to do to get there. So if somebody is in that situation, instead of doing some deep assessment on what your skills and gifts and talents, I mean, that's important, but they're probably already hung up on that. They already know what they are and they're too afraid to really move forward. What I would really encourage them to do is to make that decision and to get started and to stop using the excuses. Everything that comes out of your mouth, just know it's probably an excuse.
Wow.
It's an excuse. I don't have the money. I don't have the logo.
No, before you rush, I know you've been in the trenches. The way you're talking, that means you've gone through all the processes. And when somebody hears you and they hear that you've been a CEO of a billion-dollar company and all those things, they might think that you have not been in the trenches.
Oh my goodness.
You have all the experiences right now. So now, what I'm trying to find out from you, and I'm trying to extract this, somebody standing before you right now, sitting, desperate, hungry. You're talking about they can start business with $25, $30, service oriented. What can you do to convince them that it is possible? Because most people are going to give excuses. $25 is not enough. How am I going to be able to make it? How are you going to be able to take such a minimal capital to start an incredible business that can be able to really take out somebody? What is the innovations you can give to them?
Brother, you're not going to like my answer.
Really?
You're not going to like it. Don't start it. Don't start. Don't even start.
Don't start?
Don't even start it. If someone is going to sit here and whenever you make it, when you hand it to them on a silver platter, step one, step two, you take away every single excuse and they still come up with another one, you're not ready. You're not ready to start a business. You are not ready to be an entrepreneur because you will go through the trenches. I know what it's like to sleep in my car for 2 months. I know what it's like to have to find 27 cents to put in the gas tank to go to a job interview because things weren't working out. I know what that's like. And so you don't have the internal fortitude that it will take to be an entrepreneur and to build a successful business as long as you have those excuses. But here's what I would say to hopefully help them get over that. Sounds to me like you're trusting yourself. You're not trusting the Lord. If he told you to go take the land, then shut your mouth and go take the land. You know?
How do you do it?
Well, it's a matter of obedience. Okay. Well, it's a matter of obedience because he told Joshua, to go march around the wall 7 times. Well, I can tell you right now, if I was supposed to go take Jericho, I would have taken all my army and I would have gone and fought, right? Yeah. He said, go march around the wall 7 times and then they're just going to fall apart. Gideon, he's taken, a number of 30,000 men against the Midianite army of 120,000, 110,000. They were supposed to get slaughtered. And God said, no, you're already outnumbered, 4-1. But you have too many men, So tell all the ones that are afraid to go home. 20,000 of them go home. So he's left with 10,000. God said, no. 10,000 against 110,000. Your odds are still too good. Are you kidding me? This is the way I feel as an entrepreneur. I already feel like my odds aren't good. And he says, no, you still have too much. And so he said, I want you to take them down to the river, and the ones that scoop up with kneel on the knee, scoop up, those are your people. Everybody, laps like a dog, goes home. He's left with 300 people, and he ends up conquering. And God actually put them into a state of confusion. And that is so biblical because he will put your enemies in a state of confusion. And I think even as competitors, when you're talking about how to innovate, how to get the right ideas, I believe in getting those ideas from the Lord. When you're in the right space mentally, he will guide and direct. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. So you want to know what to do next? You're having to rely on him. And he doesn't tell you what the entrepreneurial journey looks like a year from now or 5 years from now. He tells you the next step. He tells you to just start. He says to, he didn't tell Peter, go ahead and step out of the boat, and here's what's going to happen all the way to me. He just said, step out of the boat. And some of you are stuck in the boat. You just won't get out of the boat. There's no course. There is no business course that you can take. Certainly nobody that can inspire you. I certainly can't. But when you decide to stop trusting yourself and start trusting him, and you actually step out of that boat, man, let me tell you. But just like Peter, he said, Lord, just tell me to come. And God's telling people to go. Start the business. We need more kingdom entrepreneurs. We need more entrepreneurs to become kingdom entrepreneurs. And I'm telling you, as you walk by faith and you step out, I don't know an entrepreneur yet that hasn't started to sink. Because what happens is we start seeing the waves all around us. We start seeing the problems and our circumstances, and this is happening, and that's happening, and this is going wrong, and I don't know what I'm going to do about this or that. And the waves, you really will drown. Peter did sink. He would have perished unless he cried out and said, Lord, save me. So, and he did.
There's a lot of perils in entrepreneurship. Sometimes it's very scary.
Yes.
And people want to remain in the comfort zone of their 9 to 5. Yes. Because at the end of the week, they get their paycheck. What can you say to them? What is so rewarding about entrepreneurship that you have such a passion to mobilize and motivate people to get involved into entrepreneurship? What is the drive? Because from hearing you, it seems like anybody you talk to, you just ignite their passion for entrepreneurship. Why is it so better to be an entrepreneur than you being comfortable in your 9 to 5?
Well, I've had the 9 to 5. And the problem is when you're in that position, you're always at someone else's mercy. They talk about how steady it is, and they talk about how safe corporate America is. That hasn't been my experience. The average tenure of a CEO is 18 months right now. Wow. Okay, and then it takes about 12 to 24 months to find another CEO role, and then you're in it for 18 months, which is why you got the golden parachutes. Because you're going to be, it's feast and famine, and famine, which is a lot like entrepreneurship. But the 9 to 5 is not safe. It is, and nobody accomplishes their dreams on a 9 to 5. I haven't talked to a single person yet who said that that where they didn't settle somewhere in their life because that was just, as good as it got. Now, and I'm talking about in the last 10, 15 years. The economies were very different in the industrial age and then in the information age. But now that with where we are in the age of entrepreneurship, everyone, even if you work a 9 to 5, you're an entrepreneur. You're an independent contractor because you can tell them you can quit tomorrow. You can fire your company.
Interesting.
Just like they can fire you tomorrow. So the difference is they have a whole lot more control over you than you have over them. J. Paul Getty, one of the wealthiest men, said, "I'd rather have, 1% of 100 men's efforts than 100% of my own." The reason for that. So if I'm an employee, I only get paid based on 100% of my efforts.
Yeah.
If I'm an entrepreneur and I have 100 people and one of them drop off, I still have 99% of my income. Okay. And that is a much stronger safety net and approach to life. So you don't go from getting used to a certain standard of living and then have no paycheck and have to panic and stress. And I don't think there's a believer, listening that doesn't go to a place of worship where you don't hear people say where somebody's not looking for a job right now. Because the pain during those times is excruciating. But you know what? Just like entrepreneurship, James says, count it all joy when you fall into these trials. The problem is we go through horrible circumstances and we talk about the circumstances instead of putting a smile on our face and counting it as joy. Like, I'm going to be joyful. Have I thanked God for the lack of resources, for the fact that there's no food in the pantry, there's nothing in the refrigerator? Have I thanked the Lord that I haven't been able to pay your bills in 90 days? Am I counting it as joy? The trials that he puts us through. And Paul, I've learned whatsoever state I'm in, therewith to be content. Paul was an entrepreneur.
No. Wait, before you go, how did Paul become an entrepreneur?
Because
he was a tent.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't get paid just to travel and preach and be the evangelist and the missionary. He had to supplement his income making tents.
Most people, when we talk about Paul, we know him as an apostle.
Yeah.
So you are saying that Paul was an entrepreneur, and that was what he was using to finance his ministry then?
Yes, absolutely. He definitely had to supplement it. Definitely had to supplement it with tent making, and that's why I think it's important that we all understand what our calling are. And the calling doesn't mean that's all you're going to do with your life. You may have to work numerous other things to accomplish this.
Calling, okay.
So when people want to start a business, a lot of times they ask me, well, I'm trying to save up enough money to quit my job and start this business. It's my lifelong dream. I want to open a restaurant or whatever. Well, A, don't start with a restaurant. B, I really encourage people to keep their job and start a business and launch it in parallel until it's not going to probably get to a replacement of income. Yeah. At some point there is going to be a leap of faith, but it's not in the very beginning before you've tested the market, before you have customers, and before you know that your idea is even valid or your product or service is needed. I had somebody send me a proposal over the last 2 weeks, and they sent a revised one, and they really wanted me to help take it to market. And they keep talking about how amazing the product is and how amazing the product is, and everybody's going to want it. You know how many times I've heard that? The inventor of the hoverboard had 33 other inventions.
Really?
33 other.
And all didn't work?
Oh, no, they worked.
Okay.
But that's not enough. It's not enough to have a great product. People think if I build it, they will come. You have an amazing product, and it doesn't matter if it's not on the store shelves, if it's not in the marketplace. If you can't get it to market, you may have the best, device ever, but if it only sits in this studio, then it's never going to impact or change the world. The biggest problem most entrepreneurs have is they're able to make the soap. They're able to make the special organic whatever. They have a product that they love. Their biggest challenge is getting it to market.
Okay. Is it because they don't have the tools to be able to really bring the product to the marketplace? Is it because they don't have the innovations or the technology? What is the problem? What is the challenge?
That's part of it for sure. I mean, and the other part is that most of us are hard-headed. We're pretty stubborn.
Sometimes I think people love their product much more than the market.
What's that?
I think sometimes many people love their product more than the market.
Yes, you're correct. They built it for themselves, or they built it because it's something that they wanted, as opposed to meeting a need in the market. I don't just make a product because it's fun to make a product. I find needs in the marketplace, and not just needs. Now, this is the other rookie mistake here. It's not about just finding needs in the marketplace and filling it. It's about finding needs in the marketplace that the marketplace values enough to pay you to fill it. You pay an attorney $300 an hour to solve a problem. You pay your dentist a certain amount to solve a problem. You pay people in your life to solve problems. So you as an entrepreneur, what problem are you solving? And how much is that problem worth to the marketplace?
That is incredible advice. I want us to really transition to the CEO entrepreneurship cruises that you've been having, the leadership cruises. What is it about, and what is it bringing to the marketplace?
So 3 years ago, Spain, sponsored by the King of Spain, and brought the top 20 startup companies in the world together, 15 advisors to get them ready to be funded. Well, one of the aspects, I was one of the advisors, got to spend 3 weeks on the island of Menorca. It was amazing. But I noticed how different they approached entrepreneurship than we do like in the United States of America. We have a bunch of accelerators here, and it's go, build it, sell it, build it, grow it, sell it. And so there it's a lot more slower paced. And so I started thinking about what worked. In the second week while I was there, I started noticing something. Here, when you want to get your company funded, you go before an investor panel, and you give a 2 or 3 minute pitch. You got your 10-slide deck, and they're gonna say yay or nay, but they don't even know you. You're they're in suits, you're in suits, and you're going off of what they say, and you're basing off the product. And I'm thinking to myself half the time, that may be the brightest idea in the world, but you may not be the person to execute it. And yet if I'm going to give you, I'm not giving you the money. I'd rather somebody who can execute an average idea than somebody with a great product or a great idea that can't execute. What I found when I was over there was it was probably about 85% of the entrepreneurs I personally would not have invested in. And you know why? It had nothing to do with the product. Had nothing to do with the service. They had to at least be entrepreneurs, their second or third company. And I wouldn't have invested in them. And here's why. It's because I saw what they did on nights and weekends.
Can you clarify that?
During the day, in the morning we had sessions. In the afternoon they got to meet with us one-on-one, 30 minutes each with each company. And we're vetting it. We're focusing on their relationships and do they get along? Are these partners? Should they be partners? Is their strategy sound? And so you have all the normal stuff that you think, man, ready to fund this company. Things are great. And then I'd find that I'd observe them. I'd see what they're doing at dinner, what their conversation was, what they were interested in. And there ended up forming a group. Anytime you put a group of people, birds of a feather flock together, they find their own. There was a group that started going out every single night. They wouldn't get back till 2 or 3 in the morning. Well, guess what? They were the ones 15, 20 minutes late to the meetings in the morning. They're the ones with red eyes because had too much to drink the night before. They're the ones that they were the life of the party. They were a lot of fun. But I got to tell you, I wouldn't want to invest in them because I know, well, first of all, what would they be doing with the money if they had a whole lot more than what they have right now? Second of all, I want people who are thinking with clear minds. It's not easy to build a $1 billion company. It's not easy to start a business and get it to 50,000 in revenue sometimes. It's going to take everything. It's going to require everything you've got. Okay, when you start muddying the waters with lack of sleep, lack of health, taking care of your health, and you're doing it, especially in a party scene, that's just not a place that I would want my money going.
So before you go on, what you're saying, even if you have innovative ideas and you have bad habits, you are susceptible to failure. Is that
Absolutely.
What you're saying? So you don't invest in people because of their creative ideas. You check their habits first.
That's it. And you just said it. You invest in people. What the vast majority of entrepreneurs, and I don't just mean entrepreneurs, I mean the people who are pitching in Silicon Valley and everywhere else, Boston and New York, all the pitch fests, they still think it's about their idea. They still think it's about their business plan. They still think it's about the concept or the product or the widget. They don't understand that as an investor, you're cutting through that most of the time and you're looking at the person, because you never invest in a product or a service. You invest in a person.
So about the Kingdom CEO, what they call it, cruises.
Yeah.
You bring all these top industry leaders and leadership, entrepreneurs all over the world.
Yes.
You bring up, what are you trying to achieve?
Two things. Number one, access. I'm trying to bring people together that you normally cannot get into the same room together.
Can you tell me a little bit of the people that you've already done meetings with? Because when you talk about assets, people really don't know the level of excellence and the status. And I know you have been able to, you were CEO of a $1 billion company and all that, but I want you to tell me a little bit about the background of the people who come to the CEO cruises, so that they will know the level of excellence that they will experience when they come.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, they have way more accolades than I could ever dream of. And access creates favor. If you don't understand your need for access, then you've missed the boat. There's not a business seminar you can go to. You can't learn enough to get to where you want to be. It's going to require favor. Every season of your life is transitioned because of a person, because of God-given favor. Joseph is prime example of that. It took his brothers to put him in a pit in order for him to get to Potiphar's house, and it took Potiphar to put him in prison, and it took the butler to get him in front of the king. It always takes someone else to recognize the spark and the seed inside of you to get to the next level, and especially in business and entrepreneurship. So the CEO Cruise creates that space and that platform and allows it. It's also the ultimate pattern disrupt, and not just for the entrepreneurs, but for these highly successful people that I'm going to share, because they're not the kind that normally do consulting. They're not going to, and if they do, it's probably $50,000 for a couple days. So if you got 50 or 100 grand to throw around, one of them, the CEO of McDonald's, was in his office a month ago, getting counsel.
Interesting.
So some of the people. Of course, I shared about Ford Taylor, who has transformational leadership, built the largest promotional products company in the world. He actually sold it to a private equity firm. He started it with 4 employees. Okay, built it to over 300 million, sold it to a private equity firm, ended up buying it back from them, growing it again, and taking it public. Okay, now he teaches leadership and so forth. He's done it to governments in Africa. He's done it to the military. He's doing it all over the world. A lot of companies and corporations. He's a favorite on the CEO Cruise. We have Peter Lowe, of course, like I said, who founded the Get Motivated Success seminars and shared his accolades. He's been on 60 Minutes and front page of the Wall Street Journal, and some other things that are pretty unique. We have Dr. Ken Waningu from Kenya, who is an amazing brother and entrepreneur. God has given him great favor with political elite in different places. He's on there. So we have people who are great at marketing. We have people who are great at branding. Tom Feltenstein, the inventor of the McDonald's Happy Meal. But you know what he would say his greatest accolade is?
What is it?
He opened the first Ronald McDonald House. And the Ronald McDonald House allows for housing for children who are under being taken care of in the hospital for extended periods of time, and their families can't afford to live there, and have a second home while their children are being treated. And so we've seen such great work done. And he was sharing with me how Ray Kroc was against that at the very beginning, and but he still allowed Tom to open it, and so he opened up the very first one, and that's impacted so many, probably millions of people's lives now through the Ronald McDonald House. But to be able to sit down with the inventor of the McDonald's Happy Meal and say, how'd you come up with that? How about the day that Ray Kroc, who founded McDonald's, calls him into his office and said, Tom, you just lost us $100 million.
Really?
You just cost us McDonald's $100 million. And obviously he said it very colorfully.
Wow.
And he says, how did I cost you $100 million? He said, you redirected too much of the marketing spend from the lunch menu to launch the breakfast. This man launched breakfast for McDonald's. I want you to think about that.
Okay.
McDonald's just went, a year ago, 2 years ago, to a 24/7 breakfast menu. You could order breakfast all day now.
Yeah.
Didn't end at 10:30 or 11.
And here is the man behind it.
And now it's their largest. Yeah, it's absolutely one of the greatest things, revenue sources that they have. And so but in the beginning, it wasn't all peaches and cream. It was very difficult. A very difficult journey.
So,
but imagine
yeah,
being with people like that in your swimsuit.
that's incredible.
Now
So
let me tell you,
you're
there's
having
no
fun and
pretense.
getting all these ideas and concepts from these industry innovators, right?
Yeah, you get to know who they are for real, not with suits. You get to know who they are nights, weekends, who they are when they're not on. And just like I observed and examined the people in Spain, that's exactly what we are able to do on this cruise. And they get to know each other without suits and ties and their Sunday best on. You just get to know who you are. I want to know what you're about. And then we had people at the end of the last cruise that, one girl ended up writing a book over the next 90 days and it's getting published. We had people who had dreams in their hearts for years that things started to happen. One of them read my book, The 90-Day Race, and I've had it published for several years, and sent it several copies to his publisher, and they offered me a contract about 6 weeks later, and it'll be in every Walmart, Target, Costco,
Wow.
Here over the next 7 to 9 months. So, and I'm just hosting it. You never know what God's going to do. The business deals, the partnerships, not because of the products, but because God knits our hearts together. And he says, you know what, let's lock arms and let's take the hill. Let's claim the land that he's given to us.
That is incredible vision, and I really believe that everybody watching this should support and maybe find ways and means to get on board. When is the next meeting coming on?
October 7th through the 9th, and we're going to the Bahamas. We leave out of West Palm Beach, and it's only $49 for the cabin per person right now, plus your port fees, taxes, gratuities.
What?
What? $49. We subsidize it. So I think for two people, all inclusive, it's literally everything is $297 with the discount code Kingdompreneur, and that's probably going to last for another week or so.
I think we need to we're going to put information later on so that every one of you watching, if you are interested to be part of the Kingdompreneurs CEO cruise, that is incredible. $49 for what? Cabin?
For a 3-day, 2-night
And 7th
cruise.
of October is my birthday, so I think that will be my birthday gift. So I have to talk to my wife about it. I'm definitely coming.
Yes.
But what I want you to also tell us about the books you've written. You've written some books. The 90-day, is it 90-day race?
90-day race.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book? What is it going to do for people? How is it going to change their lives?
Well, first of all, there's a little bit of an evolution to the books that I've written. The first book I wrote, I really wrote for myself because after I had made and done really well in real estate, I ended up losing it all a couple of years after that because I trusted the wrong person. And I trusted the wrong person, and I did not educate myself. I just thought I could outsource. I just didn't know any better. But I learned, and you lose it all. You'll learn quickly. That pain and that trauma, it changes you. You get better fast, or you quit. And so the first book was a reminder to myself of how I wanted things to be. I didn't want to forget the lessons, and I was afraid. It was so painful, I thought maybe I'm going to forget what I went through, and I don't want to have to learn this a second time. And so the first book, I found it a couple years later after I'd written it. And I thought, this would help a lot of people. I needed to make it not quite so personal in some places because I had written it to myself. But that book, Born to be Rich, is now in 24 languages. It has sold hundreds of thousands of copies around the world. Russia, China, South Korea, Japan, South America. So, that's really exciting. And But I found that once people read it, it was for entrepreneurs, and it's a swift kick in the seat of the pants is what that book is. I mean, if you have excuses, you probably need to read that one because I'm going to beat you up a little bit. But then what I found was that there were a lot of people that I felt like it inspired to start running 100 miles an hour, but I realized they were running 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. And so I wanted to help them slow down. It's not about speed at first. It's about making sure you're headed the right direction, and then let me wind you up and go. So that's what we did with the second book, which is Born to Dream, helping you find your purpose. And then the third book was written for corporate America. A lot of people wonder, how do you even become a CEO? Most people, you can climb the corporate ladder, but you stop at VP. You may get from a VP to a COO, but there is not information out there of how do you literally become a CEO. Very few people rise to the ranks to become a CEO. And so there's a lot of pedigree that the board of directors always look for and some other things. So I talk about how to position yourself for that. And it really starts with understanding what leadership is and what it's not. And so Riot is the third book, and Assault on Modern Leadership. And then the fourth book was the 90-day race, The Secret to Massive Results.
Wow.
A lot of people are trying to get to a certain place, and they are sick and tired of being sick and tired. They have done everything they know to do. They've innovated every possible way. They think there's nothing else they can do. What they can do is read the 90-day race, and then move forward with that. They'll know where to take it from there. If they will spend 34 minutes, they will know what they need to do.
I think we have the information, your website information on the screen, so people can be able to order it. But I will urge you, we need you to make the time so you can coach and mentor people on Oracle TV. That will make me so happy, because there's a lot of people who are finding ways and means to get the results, create innovative businesses, to make money, to change their lives. Will you be able to find some time, maybe the 60-day course or something that you can literally personally mentor them and equip them so that they can literally, and this is open to everybody in the world, global, so you can change their life, because I know you have such a passion. We are offering this platform so that you can be able to really get people and maybe take them through a group coaching, maybe train, equip, empower them, liberate them into their great. Can you do that for us?
We absolutely. I would be honored, humbled. But what I would ask is if that is something that appeals and speaks directly to you, the listener, write us, message Oracle TV, let them know, send your questions, tell us your exact circumstance. And what I would prefer to do is literally, just like I do with radio, I'm going to handle and answer your questions live, because if you're struggling with it, there's a million other people struggling with it. And instead, whenever I help one person, I need to be able to help 1,000 other people at the same time. So I'm going to take your one situation, your one circumstance. I don't care if you just started a business or you just have an idea and you want to know what I think about it or how to start it. Send that into Oracle TV, contact us. And I think that would be a way, because I want to make sure we meet the exact specific needs of our audience.
That is incredible, Dr. Rollan. We are so blessed, so enriched. We've been enlightened. I think you've wakened something in us. And I believe that everybody's watching us. This is not enough. We need much more of this information. We need you more back. So we're going to find some time so that you can continue to come on and share some of these truths, some of these innovations, and maybe put some packages together so you can start some coaching sessions with us. I would love you to do that. That would be really helpful. And I really believe that people need. So if you're watching and you feel like you have any questions, you have things you want to ask Dr. Rollan, please send your questions on our platform, or you can go to his website and send me an email. He will definitely answer you. We are going to close. Remember, Dr. Rollan is also a Kingdompreneur. So before we close, I want him to pray for every one of you and impart a spiritual grace, because I know that he has a special grace for entrepreneurship. So every one of you watching who wants to start their own businesses, you're going through financial challenges, can you just allow him to pray for you and impart something from heaven that will literally equip and empower you for change? Are you ready for that? Doctor, can you please pray for them?
Certainly. Father in heaven, thank you so much for our time together today. And Lord, my heart is for kingdom entrepreneurs that you want to equip to change the world and spread the gospel of Christ. Because when I start a business in my little part of the town that I'm in, and then it goes to another state, and it goes to another country, and it goes around the world, I'm taking the message of Jesus Christ with me. And so, Father, I pray that you would give a special anointing, a fresh anointing on my brothers and sisters that are under the sound of our voice today, and that you would remove the fear, eliminate the fear, help them to stop trusting in themselves and recognizing, just like Moses, I'm not eloquent. I can't do this. I can't do that. This is why it won't work. And Father, I pray that you would help them to stop relying on themselves to succeed and start looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. And I pray that they would focus on nothing else but being obedient to what you've clearly told them to do. And they keep kicking against the pricks, and they keep delaying. They keep procrastinating. And I pray that you would give them a special grace today to make the decision to get started, to do something every single day from this moment on to move them closer to what you've called them to do and into the fulfillment of their purpose. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for your time. We know that you've really taken time to really watch us and listen to all this truth. Definitely he's coming back. Surely you're coming back, right?
I will. Yes, sir.
We need him back to really come and share some kingdom concepts and entrepreneurial innovations that will change our lives. So until next time, this is Randolph Monte and Dr. Rollan on Spraypreneur on Oracle TV. God bless you.